Well, I put couple little thin layers of Bondo on this to get rid of the low spots. I tried some new sandpaper here. I got a 40 grit in a roll, and it's really cutting good. You can see the scratches down in there in the bottom, but I'm just kind of knocking this whole thing down, and it don't look like I got really any high spots. And I'll put another coat on it here and sand it down. But this top part of the fender and all this down through the curve all looks real nice. I mean, it don't look real nice right now, but for what it is, it looks good. Now I got one of the last coats of Bondo on here, and I decided I'd move on to this business here that I started the other day. I'm going to have to transition this fender flange here from like 2 inches up into this 3/4 inch. I kind of welded it up here. It wasn't sticking real good because of the brass. I'll probably have to clean that off a little better, but then I'm gonna taper this from here down to here, and I've got a hole down here that I gotta fill, and I still got a little bit of a mess inside of there I'm gonna have to do something with. Maybe I'll just cut one big piece and lay in there. Probably be the best. This pretty much is the final coat. I mixed it a little too hot, that's why I didn't try to smooth it. It was already getting lumpy. But I probably need a couple more coats. It might be a little low right here. And of course I have to get a better shape to it. But it looks good from back here. It's real straight. I've been cutting this all down with a board sander, so it's all good and straight. And I'll let this harden good. I did finish up all of this business up in here. I got it transitioned and trimmed, and I've got this welded up with another plate inside it. Yeah, it looks a little bad right now, but it's I'm going to spray this full of undercoat, so it'll be dry tomorrow, and that should look pretty decent. But it's welded real solid, and the bottom is good. I started putting a little Bondo on that. My lip here all the way around is good. Got an even line. Looks like I might have to trim it a little right there at the bottom. But all in all, there's my sander there. It's awfully straight. Of course, I'll have to work on it some more to fine tune it, but I'm out of Bondo. I hardly got any left, and what little I do have I'll use to fill big holes with, if I have any. I have a few. Some right there. I pretty much got all of this. My patch I welded in, that all disappeared real nice. So basics on this fender are done. I'll just have to come back and finish taking off all that blue paint and skim coating the whole thing. But there was quite a lick there from the chopped up mess that I started with. I knocked this all down. Got me a new can of Bondo. So looks like I got a little work right in there where that one panel I cut out a little low. Some right there in that area. A little straightening up on this fender. Basically this all turned out real good up here on top. Just takes a long time to do Bondo. You get it right. Looks like I have my bottom panel out just a little bit too far. But I need to strip the rest of this blue paint off of here. So I should be able to get this all done today. And since I'm here, I thought I'd pull this wheel off. I squirted some WD-40 and banged around on it. I don't know how hard it's going to be to get off, but I'd like to clean it up and do the brakes. I'll just leave this Bondo alone for now. Try a little work on that. Well, it wasn't too bad. I heated it up and squirted some WD-40 in it, pried on the top and banged on the axle, and I finally got it loose and it came out. The brakes don't really look too bad. Blew all the dirt out of them. I think they'll be good enough. I don't see any sign of leaking. So I'll go ahead and put some rust stop primer on this axle here. And I put my drum, which is awfully rusty, I put it here in the soup, but I'll take off whatever rust I've got on it. Looks like it's bubbling good, so I think I'm in business there. And it's pulling about 2 amps, so something's happening. I'll go ahead and paint this and move on. Well, had a couple little cracks in here where that old lip was not on this good piece welded right. So I tacked that up, and probably a good thing I could see where the Bondo wasn't sticking real good in a couple places. The heat loosened it up. So I'll grind this all down, get it roughed up good, and I'll put some more Bondo on it. I welded that up and got it smooth. And I just started putting a little bit more Bondo on it. So I got a little bit of low right in there. This back piece is pretty good. A little low here, there, and there. But the everything I welded looks good. And I just put a couple more skim coats on this, and hog it off with this new 80 grit paper. Works really good. It's not plugging up too bad or anything. That was fairly wet Bondo there, but it's chewing it right down. And I used some of it on a sanding block for the wet Bondo, and it's doing real good. Probably have to order another one. This was 80 grit or 60 grit, pretty heavy. It may be enough to finish my project, but working well. Moving back on the fender, I had a pretty good lip here between the fender and the tailpiece extension. I took it off. They didn't take it off to paint it. They just painted right over it. So I'm gonna clean this up, put a little primer on it, and the extension itself, I need to clean it up a little and put it back on. That way I can get the Bondo and the edge here where it goes onto the extension perfect. So that's what I'm up to now. Cleaned up that tailpiece extension and kind of knocked it around a little, but that looks like the best place for it right there. And probably half the thickness of a piece of sheet metal there. But I've got this all cleaned up good and scuffed. This Bondo and paint and stuff in here is good and solid. So I'm just gonna skim this whole section here where the blue painted is low, and get that tail piece to look right. And then later when I do this top, I need to fill this a little right here. It's probably a lot better than it was in the beginning, but it'll look good now. This is all pretty much done. Might have a few little low places, but I wanted to get this section here, get this whole piece smoothed out here from the bottom to the top. So that's where I'm at now. I'll put some Bondo on it and bring you back for a look. Well, there's a pretty thin coat, and covered it all up. I'll have to sand this down now, board sander, but I think it'll be just fine. This fender is gonna look fine. I can tell by looking at it that it's real straight, ain't got no waves or anything in it. So this is a pretty good deal for this. Kind of tired, so I might let this dry and sand it with 40 grit, and then maybe put one more coat on it. I may not. I may just let this dry and let it good and hard, because this is going to be real thin right in here. Now I still gotta take all the Bondo off this back piece and get it straight. That's going to be probably a whole day's work right there. I got this dent mostly out, Looks like I still got some high spots in it. But this tailpiece extension lines up real good right here in the trunk. I got maybe a thickness of sheet metal in there, 40 thousandths or so. This one will line up perfectly. I don't know what this one's gonna be like. It's got a ridge in it right here, same as the other one. So probably they took these off and painted them and then put them back on the car. But it's going to look real straight. I've spent a lot of time on this one fender, but what's gonna make the whole paint job look good is having straight panels. It's in the soup overnight. Wire brushed it a little. It cleaned it up real nice. And got nearly all the rust and paint off of it. I'll spray paint this black and put it back on the car. I have the driver's side more or less bundled up. I just I quit on this one. You can see I didn't finish welding it, but I've ground it off, and I'm gonna finish welding all my pinholes and everything. I'm not sure what the bottom looks like here. I probably have to do something to that, and I'll have to strip the rest of this Bondo and paint, and I'll pull this tail thingy off here and do the same thing. And I thought about cutting out that bad fender there and welding a straight piece in, but I don't think it's really worth it. The amount of work that it puts in it compared to the improvement that I would get, and it's probably not worth it. It's pretty straight and strong, and I really don't want to get into cutting up that fender. I'll check it, make sure that it's all welded good. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do now, is finish welding this up and grind it off. I'll bring it back when it's welded. This heats the panel up. And kind of melt that Bondo, then a scraper will take it off pretty easy. Plus we don't get dust everywhere. Looks like this top edge is pretty good. I don't see much Bondo in it. It looks pretty good. It's down into the primer. Looks like the majority of the Bondo was in this area. And feeling of the panel, I've got a lump right here where my weld is. So I need to take a hammer and dolly and straighten that crease out right there. and I might as well do that, get that panel straight before I try any more welding and getting heat into the panel. Well, here's a little experiment. I ran out of wire. Here's another roll. Now I went over this with a wire brush, and I squirted it with a little WD-40. It's got a lot of corrosion on it. I don't know how this is going to affect the welding. Probably for sure that first layer be messed up. But I'm going to go ahead and put it in the machine here and see what happens. Probably be a little note on one of these videos here if it works or not. But I'll just try to get it in and feed it through the gun here and see what happens. Patched up a few little holes. Finish up this bottom part. I think the welder was welding because I had sanded about 15-20 feet of the wire before I ran it through. But apparently what little rust and WD-40 on it wasn't really doing too bad. Anyway, I've got this thing all welded up, all my little holes filled. I got a patch up in here, looks pretty good. I look at it from the inside. I can see a few little holes right there in the back bottom. I'll try to patch some of them, but the rest of it don't look bad. Got a couple little pinholes in it, but the undercoat seam sealer is going to fill that up. I got this little overlapping curve here fixed. Today's been a short day, and took a little more time to weld this up than I was planning on. So I don't know if I'll get to bondoing up this tailpiece or not, but I think I will be able to get this side cleaned up and at least a skim coat on there. No real reason other than I'd like to get it done. I didn't do too great a job of it, but I got me one coat on. Looks like there is a little bit of dent right there in the middle. Of course, this fender panel here is not very good. I see some 2 or 3 pretty good dents, but I knew I had to fill all that. But it's fairly straight. I'm getting my curve in it, so I think that's good enough. I got all my dents sealed in here, so while I'm at it, I'm just going to go ahead and spray this with undercoat, let it dry overnight. I'll let this original coat of Bondo get good and hard, and I'll sand it off tomorrow and continue to work on it. And one little final last call. This is that drum that I de-rusted and painted. Looks real nice. I've still got to clean up all this mess in here, but at least that's one of the things that happened. The derusting solution took it off good enough to where I put the rust stop and then put good enamel on it. So that drum is good for now. And I had a little bit of video of taking it off and cleaning it up, and so this kind of finish up that part. Continuing here, I've heated and stripped the Bondo off of this part and knocked it down with a board sander. Now I can see my high and low spots. I need to build this up here, and I'll pull this tail piece off of here and sort that, and then I need to put this rear valence on and make sure that it's matching here. But for now I can Bondo this up and get this fender roughly shaped the way it's supposed to. Actually looks pretty straight. It's not going to take as much Bondo as I thought it was going to take. You know, maybe a quarter of an inch, considering that's really not all that bad. Press on. Yeah, that's a couple coats, thin coats. Looks like it's gonna turn out all right. There's two schools of thought on this. One is just put enough Bondo on it so you can sand it once and be done. Probably that's all right for body shop. It's got two disadvantages. One is that you waste a lot of material. You're just going to grind it off, and it takes time to grind it off. And the second one is that you get Bondo in one big thick coat. And it's not really, in my book, as strong as several layers that are bonded together well. You get air bubbles in it and things like that. The way I do it is I try to fill the low spots up to the high spots. Just lightly sand it to keep it flat. Just knock off these little high spot tits and put another coat on, and you bring it up slowly, 2 or 3 layers to where you need it, and you use the minimum material. It's a lot less work than trying to grind off all of it. You got a lot less waste. You can see hardly any waste is going on here, and you don't have any air bubbles in it. So I think it's stronger, but either way is good. I've made this as good as I can. I've probably got one more leveling coat to go on here, and this should be pretty close to the final coat. I need to pull this off of here, straighten it out, and I need to put my rear valence on here, laying down there on the bottom. I have to do a little body work to it to straighten it out, and then I'll have to match the bottom of both fenders to that valence. But I'm probably 80% done with this. Another couple thin coats here, and this should be straight. Well, there you can see the results after cleaning it up with a board sander. All of this, these low spots in here will get filled. We don't have to worry about the high spots anymore. We're start hitting metal in a few places, so that's as can't sand that Bondo anymore. If we do, we'll put another dent in it, but I think we probably got one more thin skim coat here, and it should bring this whole panel up to the thickness that we want. Of course, we'll have to continue to trim and play with it to get it straight, but this basically is 3 coats of Bondo just in the low spots and enough to feather it into the highs. One more coat, we should be done.